Welcome to Perspectives in Mobile, the news podcast from the Mobile Ecosystem Forum. Join us discussing the world of telecommunications, technology, and mobile innovations. From London, Dario Betti, MEF CEO.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our latest editions of Perspectives, the podcast from the Mobile Ecosystem Forums, where we look at the different people that make our ecosystem, the different opinions, and sometimes the different events, our different ecosystems. We have some big news for you, but first, let me tell you who's with us. Not one, but two speakers today. Nick Lane from Mobilesquared and Jon King from Kaleido Research. Both of them familiar faces, friendly faces from our events, our working groups, etc. So thank you for being here. Both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Hi, John. Before with no further ado, strange to have two different companies in perspective join us in one go. What's happening?
Well, it's not an online analyst debate, which would be quite fun. But no, we have some really exciting news that Mobilesquared and Kaleido Intelligence, as of January the 14th, have announced our merger as a single company. So very exciting news that we want to share with the world.
So technically, we're speaking with one company.
Well, so I am talking to one company, and if you're fretting out there, if you are a customer of Mobilesquared and Kaleido, thinking, will everything change tomorrow? The answer is
no.
Yeah. Okay, don't worry. You heard it here. You're hearing it first, but that's going to be a process. And so if you're at home as a client, don't think that you have to worry. But life is full of excitement because you're very complementary. I see Mobilesquared very active in one of our key topics, which is messaging, has been the key flag of Nick for quite a few years, and Jon Kaleido, a younger history and already well established in, probably I'm going to guess, wholesale, IoT, and other areas. But did I get it right?
Yeah, more or less. So yeah, so just like Nick and Mobilesquared specialize in messaging, so Kaleido, since starting out in 2019, have specialized solely in the mobile roaming space, and as you mentioned, solo IoT connectivity as well. So very complementary, and for lots of the MEF members, who are also our clients as well, those operator groups who might have wholesale divisions, IoT, roaming, messaging, they all fall under that. So it's a very complementary coming together.
And Nick, I mentioned messaging, but messaging is changing every day. I guess there are new things of messaging is becoming authentications, identity. Do that feel also under your umbrella as well?
No, absolutely. I mean, part of the from our perspective, the merger means that we've got access to far more resources. So the team is obviously going to become much bigger. I think we have a company of about 16, 17 people within a few months. So in terms of the resource, in terms of the personnel, the skill, the expertise, it means that we'll be, I'll have a team supporting me, drawing on their understanding of the messaging industry. So it means that, we can kind of expedite our publishing schedule. We can obviously extend the research, the amount of data analysis that we can do, but it also means that we can cover more areas. So at the moment, obviously we specialize in SMS, RCS, WhatsApp. We do CPaaS as well. But what this also means is that as a company, as this part of the company, we can then start to grow and start to cover other areas and really start to explore. The big one for us will be something like identity. And also moving forward, something like identity will obviously have greater crossover with some of the stuff, obviously, that's impacting John on the Kaleido side of things.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, great. So let's take a step back. Actually, potentially, let's go back to the tradition of perspectives. What we'll usually start the meeting, not with a big piece of news, as we've done today, but with the reflections of your view about your market. So this time, your market is not necessarily the mobile market, but the mobile research market is a different one. What do you think overall that is happening out there? Is it changing? I used to be an analyst 30 years ago in a different century, I should say. Tell me that things have not been exactly the same.
That must have been pre-mobile phones, Dario.
Let's not talk about my age too much.
Projecting black and white TVs.
Well, exactly, pretty much the same. What do you see that is happening in this market? Are people consuming or acting on your advice in a different way? Are things changing right now?
You go, Pat. Go on, John, you go. That gives me more time to answer. Think for an answer.
The space is where Kaleido is working. So the Roman ecosystem, the cellular IT connectivity ecosystem, basically. I mean, in the Roman space, it's well known that there's so much change impacting this ecosystem at the moment. You know, there's everything from the network shutdowns, looking at things like VoLTE-Roaming, but then there's been so much focus as well on 5G roaming and standalone, and there's so much has to change with that. So the impact of new technologies and looking at, okay, how do roaming offerings move, ensuring that quality of service that underlines it, whilst embracing the new technology, taking, and bringing, legacy systems with it. Loads of change there. Massive change in the way consumers are roaming as well. I mean, everywhere it seems now, travel eSIM is coming up more and more, something that Kaleido has been covering, I think, since 2021. We saw that change in trend from consumers. So there's impacts there in terms of actually, how does that impact, traditional services? How do things need to change? What needs to be underlying there as well, from the service provider side, from an operator side? So massive change there. And then likewise in solo IoT as well. I mean, of course, it's only an area that's increasing. We surveyed, I think, 1,000 enterprises this year, understanding, actually, what are their requirements? What are their demands? You had a lot of continuing and evolving comprehensive technology, some very comprehensive product features there to enable it, but the industry needs more education, clearer use cases on how, what that looks like, synergies between different technologies coming together. So there's so much going on there, which means for us at Kaleido, we could probably expand our team 4 times over and everyone would be full at capacity of work to do. So again, it's another great thing coming together in this merger as well, because there are some fantastic tools and resources that Nick and the team at Mobilesquared have built that over time will be able to factor into what we do as well. So that's just a snippet from our side. I'll let Nick share on his.
Well, there's not really anything going on in messaging, so it's fairly straightforward. Clearly not true, is it? So no, I mean, I think this is possibly the best ever period for messaging, because you've got everything that's going on in SMS, not so much domestic. That's pretty stable, but in terms of international, it's going crazy. In terms of the high prices, the exclusivity agreements, the fraud that's associated with that, which means that from our side, from the research side, going out and talking to the industry has never been more important, because people want more and more granular information. It's not just a case of having, this is the traffic, this is the spend. It's kind of, well, what does that actually mean? What are the different types of fraud? Obviously, AIT has been a massive fraud for a couple of years, but in actual fact, it seems from the data, smishing is now a bigger threat this year for SMS. And obviously, the implications of that are the hyperscalers are changing their behavior, they're reducing their spend, they're looking at using other alternative technologies. And we've got to look at those, so then some of those alternative technologies and platforms are the likes of RCS, WhatsApp, Viber, and so on, or other areas of CPaaS. But, for us, it's trying to understand what's happening with that traffic, with that spend, with that behavior, and then understanding that, interpreting that, analyzing that, and then delivering it in a very kind of comprehensive package and bundle for our customers. And that's what we're doing. As I said, another area of that is identity. And that's going to be a really big area for us, certainly this year. And again, having this merger means that we've got additional resource to go out and do that research.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk a bit more about the merger then. Yes, well, the first question is Mobilesquared, Kaleido Research, 2 brands, still 2 brands, or are you going to be sharing some information right now?
Well, we've got, I think in both of our respective areas, we're really strong, a really strong brand name, so we'd be crazy to kind of get rid of those. But there will be, we are going to be operating under a holding company. We've got a name. We're not going to share that name yet, but when we do share the name, make sure you ask us about the backstory behind it. It's quite unique, but that will kind of share that more in the coming months. But for the time being, no, it's kind of Mobilesquared will stay as Mobilesquared, Kaleido will stay as Kaleido. But again, the benefits of working together will obviously become very apparent very quickly to clients and beyond.
John, do you have some surprises waiting for us?
Yeah, well, we're always trying to keep the industry on its toes, but no. So, and as Nick said, the 2 companies stay themselves. There'll be things that we're doing immediately together as one new entity. Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, we'll be having a cocktail reception, our first event as a combined company. Great that it's literally 50 meters away from where MEF will be hosting all of its activities as well, So, that's fantastic. And then both companies, the relationship we have with MEF and how that works and what it enables is really strong. So, it's just another plus point and also in coming together. But that aside, in terms of surprises and updates, there will be updates coming. We've spent a lot of months naturally working on not just the merger, but also the roadmap behind it. How are the products? How are the research processes? How are all these kind of things come together? And that's something that obviously is no quick thing. That'll be a lot of work behind the scenes even over this coming year. So if you're a client of Nick's or of ours at Kaleido here at the moment, and many of us have joint clients as well. The message is, does something change tomorrow? And is there a new product launch tomorrow that I can access because of this? The answer is no, but we'll be taking them all through a clear roadmap of what that's going to look like for them in terms of when products will start to become aligned. But the immediate excitement is, of course, what Nick said about resource, which then enables scalability, not just for covering new research areas, but then also greater capabilities. Capabilities of if people need some advisory support or particular knowledge, then it's nice that we'll have the ability to do that without trying to factor in a working schedule up to 2 a.m.
Well, so you're going to be sharing more information, I'm sure, with your customers. And let me make sure that we ruin some of our relationship. Let me tell you, and let me ask you, what is a good customer for you today? And what's a bad customer? What kind of things do they ask you? What kind of things you don't want them to ask you?
Don't have a bad customer, because as a research, I know that's like the politically correct line. I guess because as a research company, especially for specialist companies like ourselves and Nick at Mobilesquared, you want the difficult questions. We're not in business if there's no difficult questions or hard questions that people are having, because then we'll just be a company that echoes what they say and they'll be happy. So a good customer for us are those who are really entrenched in the contents in the feed that we're doing and that we're working with lots of their different divisions. That's the joy of research, actually. You get to work with so many different business units, from could be sales and marketing focus, product alignment, strategic, corporate, it's great. So a good customer for us are the ones that actually listen to us the most, send us mails, give us lots of calls. We like that. We fully believe, I think that a good customer is one that is, considering you just an extension to their business. So instead of a research business, that's Mobilesquared, or that's Kaleido.
So Nick, what for you? What do you have about customers in theory? Give us names, please.
That's like saying, do you have bad members?
No.
There we go. We have all our customers are wonderful. I mean, it's the same for any company, isn't it? You want to make sure that you have an ongoing relationship with your customers, so that they feel open, that they can ask you anything, and we can ask them things in return. Because obviously, we need our customers in the same way that they need us, we'd like to think, because if they don't need us anymore, then we're not doing our job properly. So, and I think as long as we keep doing what we do well and asking the right questions or the tough questions to make sure that we're getting kind of the insight, the data that we require, which we can then interpret and in turn then kind of transform that into actual information and insight and data and forecasts for our clients, then we're doing our job. And, and I think the key thing is we're not here just to make a nice big number to go on a press release. We're not doing vanity kind of forecasting. We're trying to do forecasts that people can actually use when they're actually developing their business plan, their business strategy. And that's what we'll do, and that's what we'll continue to do.
So you've heard them. Please, if you remember, ask more questions, be more demanding. That's what they are telling you. So I'm sure you're going to have lots of fun. But I need to have some fun as well. And there is not much time before you need to move on to your next adventure. So let me now go back, not just to the news about your merger, but to the fact that I've got 2 analysts here. And it's January. I should ask. So what's the prediction for this year? I'll start with Nick. What's going to happen this year? Message you, Nick.
The year of RCS. Woohoo! That I've never uttered those words in my life. It's not the year of RCS, but it's going to be a good year. I think it will be a good year for RCS. We're starting to see WhatsApp take off in a lot more markets. There's some good growth, but same with everything, with all these things, it's coming from a really low footing. So WhatsApp, we think, was worth about 1.8 billion last year. So it's still a good few years ahead of RCS, but with RCS, we do believe that I think the US is probably critical now in terms of what it does with RCS this year, in terms of how quickly RCS is adopted around the world. So I think all eyes are on the US, what the announcement means from Apple, now that, I guess all of the US carriers have signed up to, Apple is now fully engaged with RCS, and hopefully we'll get an understanding of what that actually means as the year progresses. All in all, I think it's still going to be a turbulent year for international SMS. Domestic SMS fairly stable. RCS is going to grow. WhatsApp will probably grow a bit quicker because it's a few more years ahead. But a good year for messaging.
Good year for messaging. Well, Jon, are you so positive on roaming and on IoT? Is that going to be a good year for roaming and IoT?
There will be a very interesting years, and I will preempt, that while I'm no analyst, I do have quite a good handle on these markets as well. I like to think. So I will say it's going to be an intriguing year for IoT as we continue to see, again, just how those different technologies, interoperating with each other, helping actually to meet those needs of the enterprises as that continues to evolve. What about security filtered in there as well? So that'll be interesting. It'll be another year of exploding eSIM. And there's a theme here with how I'm describing this, and that's both on the IoT M2M side with the new specification that so long for, and of course on the consumer side, fueled by those use cases like the travel eSIM side as well. And it'll be, I don't want to be too dramatic, but I want to say a revolutionary year for roaming, because what I do love about the industry is how everyone is really wanting to come together to address the challenges, but also the opportunity that it presents within itself as well. So that's really nice. Everything I described earlier about what's going on in the industry. It's not like, you see people just putting the blockers up and not, wanting to address them and just carry on with the status quo. There's a lot of unified, I think, viewpoints across the industry to actually want to come together and, really look at revolutionizing roaming and having that leading quality of service under there as everything goes together. So, yeah, it's all very positive and exciting.
Never a boring day in the mobile ecosystem. But today, we're talking not just about mobile ecosystem, we share with you the news that Mobilesquared and Kaleido Research are now joining together, even if there is no immediate rush or panic. All things are happening as they were doing right now, but great new plans for Nick and Jon on what is coming next. And they're still a bit coy. We will have potentially to invite them back and see if they can tell us more. But for this January, that's the news. The last few words for Nick and Jon. How would you like us to classify your new company? What are you? The new merged company.
Jon,
how do we have the new company? I was just going to sign off by saying, watch this space for more information, but it's going to be an exciting year. It's going to be, really, really delivering a lot of, I guess, cool products and capabilities for our clients.
Yeah, good. So it's going to be a busy company, this one. It's going to be a very active and operational. You will hear more about that later. But for today, it is time to say thank you, and it's time to remind you that you can download our podcast by Spotify, Apple, many other platforms. You can listen to us on MEF Radio. Whatever you do it, please keep on doing it. And for this week, thank you for listening, and thanks for Nick and Jon for participating and sharing the big news with us. Congratulations. Happy New Year. Fantastic merger.
Thanks for listening to Perspectives in Mobile. Join us next as we explore telecoms, technology, and mobile innovations. Stay tuned, stay connected, and let's unlock the mobile potential together.